So we're nearing the end of part 2. In this section, I'm going to put together for you a scenario, an actual realistic scenario when you're doing a penetration test or an ethical hacking engagement. And we're going to be putting together a number of different tools that we learned, plus some new tools to see why Linux is considered very powerful and very convenient to use when we're doing pen testing. This session's objectives are to understand redirection, input and output redirection, and we're going to see some practical examples of those. Now we're going to be looking at piping and some practical examples of how we can chain commands together. Redirection is when we take the output of a tool and instead of displaying it on a screen, we input it in a file. Or the other way around, we take the content of a file and we redirect it as an input to a certain tool. And this is usually needed because sometimes you can run commands on a target, but you cannot see the output. So one common scenario, for example, is that through a website, you might be able to reach the back-end Linux system of a target, but because of the website, you wouldn't be able to see the output of the commands that you are running. In that case, you will redirect the output of these tools to a text file that you would be able to access through your web browser. If that sounds confusing to you, don't worry about it. You will remember these examples that I'm talking about when you're doing your ethical hacks and these scenarios come up. So here are the different types of redirection. The greater sign is used to direct command output to a file. So for example, nmap is one of the programs that would have an output option. I have the option when I run nmap to save the output in a file. But let's say, for the sake of this exercise, we're running the ping command. Ping does not have an option to save the output. Using the greater sign, I can direct or redirect the command output and save it in a text file. Two greater signs will append the command output to the file. So if I run the ping command the first time and I save the output in one file using the greater sign, and I do that again, the second output will overwrite the first output. If I want to append it and add the second output to the first output, I use two greater signs. And the less than sign directs content from a file to a command. So it's the other way around. All right, let's see how that looks like so you get a good understanding practically. Here's the scenario. Let's say I'm on an ethical hacking engagement and I managed to get into 3 different systems. I download a list of users from system 1 and I call this list users 1. I download another list of users from system 2 and I call it users 2, and the same for users 3. I want to create a combined list of all the users and use that to attack a mail server. So my target is I want to create a list of all these users and I want to find out all the mail servers in the company. And I want to use this list and give it to a program that will try and attempt automatically to log in using every user with different password until I'm hopefully successful. So let's break this down step by step. Let's look at the contents of the first file. There's a small list of users in users 1, same as users 2, and same as users 3. I kept the list short in this scenario just so it doesn't look too overwhelming in the output. But this can be very useful what we're doing when you have long lists of hundreds and hundreds of users that you don't want to be copying and pasting all the time. So as we know already, the cat command displays the content of a file. However, the cat command does not have an option to save the output. So what happens if I do cat users and I use the wildcard asterisk? We've seen that before. That does a cat on all the users files. And I can see the output combined. Now all that's missing is I want to save all this output in a text file. Obviously, I can copy and paste this output. But a cooler, faster way, instead of opening a text editor, copying, pasting, and saving the text, I can use the redirection command that we just saw. Let me clear the screen first. Let me try with the first 2 files. I'll do cat users 1 and users 2 and greater than sign to all dash users. Now if I do cat all users, you'll see that the users from 1 and 2 are combined in one file. I want to also combine the users from file 3. Now if I do cat users3 greater than sign all users, look what happens. I'll cat all users, and that overwrote my previous output or my previous redirection. This happened because I used the greater than sign again. Let me try that again. I'll do cat users1 and users2 greater than sign all users. And now, instead of using 1 greater sign for the users3, I'll use 2, which tells the command append the output. Now if I cat all users, I'll see that I have a list of all users combined in one text file. So instead of copying pasting all these, imagine that I have to do that for tens of files. I could have done that using one command. And a much faster way to have done that is by using the asterisk. Remember the wildcards? If I do cat users star or asterisk and then redirect it into all users, that would have been a very simple one-liner to take the content of all the files, redirect the output, and put it in one file. Here's a quick tip for you. I can use the cat -n command to see the number next to each line. So now I have a list of users. These are the users that I'm going to be trying out in my attack on the mail server.